Hello, and welcome back to Are You Ready for Your Inspection podcast. I hope you're all good. I hope the weather is kind to you. I say this every time. I do say this, but I'm really a little bit obsessed with the weather. So yeah, I'm hoping it's okay for you. So this week's podcast, I want to talk to you about if you have had an inadequate inspection, an inadequate grading. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I was looking back at all of our podcasts, and while I'm recording this, we've done 125 podcasts that we've done, which is over 2 years of podcasts that we've been doing, which is amazing. And if, from me to you, a little bit of love there is the fact that, remember to like, love, share, subscribe, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're listening to this on YouTube or watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe button and you will get to be told when our next one comes out. But again, thank you from us, because we get an awful lot of feedback from our podcasts. So much feedback. And I think when we first started it 2 years ago, I was just like, I'm going to talk. We've progressed a little bit more. It's the fact that we did it via Zoom, and then I was looking like I was an Oompa Loompa on Zoom. I actually almost looked like I was tangoed. So I was like, right, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. And if you could see the setup here, I love it. It's very cold where I'm sat at the moment, because I've just realised that the heating behind me is not open. So I'm hoping my teeth don't chatter. Anyway, I digress. Dooley, you're digressing. So what I want to talk to you about is inadequate inspections and inadequate grading. And like I've said to you before on the podcast where we talked about requires improvement, first 24 hours. If you've got an inadequate inspection, had an inadequate inspection, give yourself 24 hours. Okay, 24 hours to cry, snot, rant, rave, shout. It comes naturally with us. And then the next day, come back in fresh and go, right, what are we going to do to make it better? Okay. One of the things, top tips I would say, is if you've got an inadequate, you need to have, and an RI, if I'm honest with you, is you need to have a really good action plan from that day once you've had your inspection, what you're doing. And if it helps you think about the what, the so what, and the now what. So the what is it that they are saying? So I'm going to give an examples of some of the things that I've seen when it comes to inadequate. Now, we all know that it means that the provision and the arrangements for safeguarding is not effective, okay? And that can come from a number of ways. So for example, if you're the designated safeguarding lead and you do not fully understand the process, your roles and responsibility, and no idea about the recording and reporting of significant events, that would give you an inadequate grading, because that will have a negative impact on children. So that's what I want you to think about, is actually, will this, what Ofsted are saying to you, will that have a negative impact on children? And actually things to do with safeguarding, and especially like for designated safeguarding lead, yes, it will. It will have a negative impact because children are not safe. And so those are the things that you need to be thinking about. So if you're the designated safeguarding lead or the deputy designated safeguarding lead, whatever you call yourself, you need to know your roles, your responsibilities, how to report significant events, how to know the process, how to know the procedures, and how to ensure that children and your staff are safe in your setting. So that is one way of thinking about why you're getting an inadequate. Other things is the fact that if you're not meeting the welfare requirements, the EYFS welfare requirements, you will get an inadequate. Now, I hear this all of the time. I see this on social media posts, and don't rant at me, but when it says on there about sight and sound, And actually, I want to give you something. Is the fact that, and a question came up yesterday, right? So the question that got asked is, when we've got, I think it was something like 20 children, 2 to 3 year olds, and there's only 3 staff for lunchtime, and we know it's a 1:5 ratio. The rest of them are gone on lunch, but because it's lunchtime, we can have lower ratio. Where does it state that in a statutory framework? Where does it state that you can go lower on ratio on the most important part of the day? Lunchtime. Okay? It doesn't, does it? So my feeling is always go back to the statutory framework. Always go back to that, because that's what you need to be going by. Not social media posts, not what Tom, Dick and Harry down the end of the road does, not the nursery 4 miles up the road, not the preschool which is in the next village to you, not the childminder that's in your childminding group. You. How do you interpret the statutory framework? So you need to be making sure that your staff are deployed on staff to child ratios and children's needs are met at all times. If you don't, okay, you're going to have a negative impact on those children, and that is where your inadequate comes in. Okay, just fact. Okay, the whole thing about sight and sound, and how many children literally struggle at lunchtimes, and I see this all of the time, is the fact staff need to be sitting down with those children. They need to be talking to them about what's going on and healthy eating. I'm just giving you good practice tips here. But how many would you like it if you were in a restaurant and you had somebody who was serving you some food, overpowering you all the time, standing up while you were sitting? No, you wouldn't. So why are we expecting children to do that? You need to be making sure that our children's behaviour is being supported and managed effectively. Children are recognising those emotions, and you as a staff member are recognising those emotions and actually help children to manage their behaviour. You need to, again, and this is what I said on an RI, is the fact that you need to be making sure that children have access to outdoor provision, whether it's a park if you don't have an outside area, but you need to be, this is all part of the prime areas. You need to be ensuring that those prime areas and children have access to those daily outside visits to the outdoors. Now, quite often I find that babies are upstairs, and actually it's a really hard work to get them outside, because it's such a bit of a, such a ball ache to get them out, take them down, dress them up, put them in the buggy, wherever you're going. But you need to think about those things. You need to be thinking about those babies going outside, because those babies is their prime areas. And again, that's the impact on those children. That has a negative, if you don't go outside for those children, that will have a negative impact on those children. So it's all about negative impact for inadequate. And if you've had anything that you're doing has a negative impact on children, you're going to get an inadequate rating. So try and think of it about that. What is the impact? And I rave about this all the time. If there's negative impact, then change it, because you're going to go down the wrong way, okay, on your gradings. Again, reminding that if you've got inadequate, then your inspector's going to go out and it's going to be an unannounced visit, and you're going to be doing that within the 6 months, okay? So you need to be mindful of that. It will be unannounced. Thinking about how babies are sleeping. Is it in line with the local government guidance? Check out Lullaby Trust. Check out what they're saying about being the foot to the bottom and back to sleep, and making sure that children don't come in car seats asleep with their coats on because they're going to overheat. Making sure that children, another example is making sure that children don't come in asleep and you put them straight in a cot and they're asleep. Years and years ago we used to do that, but now actually that's not fair on those children, because what if those children are you sure they're asleep? And that has been the case before, where a child's come in and they've been asleep in the buggy, and they've left them in the buggy, And actually, though, that child was not asleep. That child had sadly died. And so, that again has a negative impact on those children. Thinking about the practitioner again who takes the lead to ensure that they are up together, they training, they know what the local trends are, they know what they're looking for, they know how to support those children, and they know how to do those processes. Thinking about routines of children as well, especially when it comes to lunch times. Because actually if the routines are rushed and transitions aren't good and staff aren't sitting down with those children when it comes to lunch times and not recognising those choking hazards, again, it has a negative impact on those children, and that is why you're going to get the inadequate. So thinking all of those things that we have been thinking on this, I've just been giving you a quick synopsis of what it is that you to get when you get an inadequate and the reasons why. And I say to you about the 24 hours. So if that's the case, take it. It's really hard to overturn a grading on an inspection. Extremely hard. So unless you've got proven facts and you can prove that whatever the inspector's saying is not right, you need that physical proof, then you're going to be inadequate. So you need to take it and write down when they've gone, after the 24 hours, everything that they've said that has a negative impact on children. So think about that's your what, okay? So think about so what. So the so what is, what is the impact of it? So for example is, if your designated safeguarding lead does not have the knowledge or the understanding on how to report a significant event to the right authorities, whether it's LADO, MASH team, whoever it is, or DOFA, wherever you are, whichever area, your local safeguarding partners, it's going to have a negative impact. It means that children are not going to be safe. And so then what are you going to do? So that's the what, that's the so what, and the now what is, what are you going to do to make it better? So for example, you're going to put your DSL on really robust designated safeguarding lead training, not click and forget training. Really, that does not need to be that. You cannot be doing that. You need to make sure that the training is really robust, really effective, so that DSL goes away and feels that they have a clear understanding of what's important and the processes. Also, the staff in the room, how do they understand what safeguarding is? Do they know where to go to if they've got concerns? Do they know which is the process, who they go to? Do they know how to recognise the signs and indicators of abuse? And I want to say this as well, I'm going to add this in, is it's not signs and symptoms. Abuse is not an illness, okay? It is signs and indicators of abuse. Just something that's a really little bit of a pet hate for me. I hope this helps, that I want you to put an action plan together. If you need any support if you've got an inadequate grade and you feel that you want some support on how to get you to have a better grade from that grade, then give us a shout, admin@jigsawyeyc.com. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. Talk is cheap, it's free. A conversation with you on how to make it better and how to help you with your action plan. And your action plan needs to be ongoing. So the best thing I would suggest is do it on a Google, because you can see when it was added, all those little bits and who's adding to it, and making sure that it's accountable. So you've got what you need to do, you've got how you're going to change it, that's your intention. Your implementation is how you're going to do that, who's going to do it, and a date of when they're going to do it by, and the impact that has. And that needs to be, your action plan needs to be shared with your inspector on the next inspection, so they can say that they have seen that you have evaluated where you were, and you are regularly updating and improving your practice and ensuring that there is no negative impact on those children in your setting. So I hope that helps. Let me know how you get on. It's one of those things, if you've got an inadequate inspection grading, I hear you, I do hear you, and I hear it an awful lot. Let us know if we can help you, and we will have that conversation with you. I hope that helps. I'm going to love you and leave you, and let you enjoy the rest of your weekday, weekend, however you're listening to this. Remember, like, love, subscribe, share, share the love, and I will see you next week. Take good care.